Hello, check, check. I do have sound. Yay. Lights, camera, action. What a day, you guys. Let me get my little fan going here. Always good to have air, water, air, lights. What else? I think I'm all set. You know, it is September 11th. I wanted to give ample time to address never forget, right? I mean, that's kind of a slogan, kind of a motto, but it's oh so very serious. Oh, so very serious. So I came on earlier today and I did a very rushed live. I mean, sometimes I'm sure that's good because, we're all short on time, right? And I just wanted to come back on and not be rushed and just kind of hang with my peeps. So we'll see who comes in. I'm going to move a little light. Let's see. Which way do I need to move it? I need to move it that way. Yeah. Did I fix it? I think I kind of fixed it. I'll leave it like that. That's good enough. Doesn't have to be perfect. I strive for perfection, but that's just so that I am striving for something. But yeah, it's always good just to be flexible and know that everything is a work in progress. I have a hat handy in case of a hat emergency. And let's see. It looks like somebody is calling me. Hey, I'm on live. Can you mod? Okay, I gotta go. I'm on right now. Okay, love you. Bye. Okay. Oh, so let's see. Where was I? Drink of water. There's my water. So sad. Personally, I didn't lose anybody in 9/11, but didn't we all lose a sense of safety and security? I hope we're not having a repeat of that now, 24 years later. When I came on earlier in my live, I thought I was being pretty radical in some of the things that I was saying. And I feel like because I'm a small channel, I can take those risks and say things that maybe larger channels would be more concerned about. I got ice in my mouth, sorry. But then, much to my surprise, this afternoon, I saw that there are other content creators that are pretty much on exactly the same track that I'm on. Thinking that that this was a coordinated event, that it was a professional hit, it was assassination. The whole thing with the hat and the sleeves, it was two of those guys, for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. When I mentioned earlier in my video that when my daughter first mentioned it, and she's only 13 and a half, and she saw it on TikTok, I thought, maybe people are misconstruing something. Maybe people are using their imaginations a little bit. But no, it's so obvious. It's almost like they want people to notice, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. Please hit your like button. And there we go. Make sure you're still subscribed. Turn on your notification bell to ring, and share a video of mine with somebody that you think might like it. What a devastating 24 hours to know that somebody was not only assassinated in broad daylight on a college campus, his wife and kids were there. His children, he's had a son who's 1 year old. 1 year old. son was born in May, so about 17 months old, so almost a year and a half. And then the daughter that he has is 3 years old. I'm not sure when she turns 4, but a 3-year-old would certainly understand pretty much what was going on, in my opinion. The 1-year-old, the 18-month-old, it's phenomenal. Sometimes 18-month-olds can really grasp everything, and especially emotion, and with the emotion of their mother and the emotion of everyone around them. But regardless of any of that, even if they weren't there on site, of course, it is just god awful. And I do think it's important to be respectful, to not speak ill of the dead. I also think it's important to stand up for what's right. And I think that Charlie Kirk, I don't think he saw things clearly. I think that he had a good ideology, but that he was truly destructive in a lot of his belief system and a lot of the way he propelled it forward. I do want to talk for a minute about his support of having the Epstein files released. And we all know the 180 that he did a couple weeks ago, where he literally said, I've been asked to not talk about this and to just trust my government that they've got this. And so I'm going to do that. And I think that was when he first came on my radar. Some of the channels that I watch routinely were showing clips of that and talking about that. Probably Hal Sparks and maybe Mary Trump, a couple others like I've Had It, Midas Touch. So many good channels. Fair and Balanced, that's a really good channel. That man, Fair and Balanced, said today that he's stopping content creating for a little bit, that he was kind of getting burnt out anyway, and that this Charlie Kirk incident really put him in front of a mirror and he just needs to step back. And he's got like 1.5 million subscribers, so he's got quite a voice, quite a reach, as they say, quite an influencer. But I think that's great. I have so much respect for everyone who can be real with themselves and take careful and deliberate consideration of the situation and how it affects each one of us. And especially if you're a big channel and you feel like maybe you have a target on your back, or maybe your family. I mean, this is nothing to mess around with. Absolutely nothing to mess around with. And especially when we've got, and I'm just going to say it, when we've got mobster mafia leadership in our political system that is all about retribution, revenge. Yeah, let's get into the material. Our kids are so precious. Our kids are, I think, the most precious resource on planet Earth, and maybe in all the universe, at least to me as a human. So children getting abused, children getting essayed is more than most of us can bear, whether we've been victimized, whether we're survivors or not. And most of my viewers know my story about my father making an attempt on my life. And that has certainly shaped me a great deal in my life experience, in my understanding of love and caring and parenting and respect and self-worth, and just understanding how people can do something so unthinkable. It's like the Rolling Stones, war is just a shot away, love is just a kiss away, and grape and red rum, It's just that far. Life is so precious. It's so fragile. And I think we all know that. And a situation like 9/11 certainly makes us remember that. A situation like somebody getting popped in the neck under a tent on a beautiful fall day in the middle of a beautiful college campus, surrounded by positive energy, it seemed. Did you guys see the video footage of like the one guy who's like cheering? He's got a beard and he looks just too excited, too happy. He's like cheering right into the camera as whoever has the camera is panning over to Charlie Kirk, and he's doing he's turning around because the camera is like behind him. So he's turning around to look at it. And it almost looks like he might know something. And I haven't watched anybody that has produced content about that, but I see that there are some people who are exploring that. And that was my first thought when I saw it too, was like, what's up with that guy? Is that just random? So, you want to always remain objective. You want to be your most observant, and you certainly don't want to miss the obvious when you're trying to put the pieces of a puzzle together. And I would say that this whole thing with Charlie Kirk is sort of like a puzzle, but I honestly think it's just a gaslighting conspiracy from the people in charge of our government, our politics. It's very like, I don't like to say the R word, the USSR. It's very reminiscent of that too. So something I thought of today, talking about that young woman that was unalived on the train or the light rail or something in North Carolina a few days ago, the beautiful 23-year-old model. She was cut on her jugular, basically, with a sharp-edged object by a complete stranger, allegedly. And it seems to me, it struck me today that it's like the exact same place that Charlie Kirk was popped with a cap. And I don't believe in coincidence. I don't think, especially when it comes to the climate that we're in right now, the political climate that we're in right now. Did you guys see what do I call the rat bastard? Did you see the Trumpster fire sitting at the Resolute desk holding up a picture with the beautiful 23-year-old model, and she's white, she's got blonde hair, drop dead gorgeous, and the black man next, the photos side by side, and he's holding it up and he's like, we can't let this happen. I think that was like the day after it happened. It's so bizarre. Like, this is so not what a president does. Like, presidents don't use props, and they don't need to have like picture books and show and tell, which, this guy obviously does. He's really not much of a world leader. He's really a mob boss. And that couldn't have been more apparent than it was on January 6th. So January 6th, as we all know, was an attempt at an insurrection. It didn't happen. Didn't go so well. And I believe that another insurrection nationwide is what the Trumpster fire has his designs on right now. I believe that that's what he's looking at doing. And I think it's upon all of us. Billy, darling. Hi, how are you? How's it going? I'd love to hear your opinion on all this stuff. Thank you so much for saying hi right now. And thank you for saying hi earlier. You are such a bright beacon of hope and knowledge and insight. I really respect you, dear. I feel like I know you just from all the panels that we've been on together and all the chats that we've been in. And yeah, it's been quite a day. Sorry, is it other stuff on top of 9/11 and on top of the political nightmare? Um, my dog ate a box of raisins, uh, not last night, not the night before that. So today was the third day in a row that I took her to the vet, and raisins are very toxic for animals. So it was an entire box. It was almost a pound. It was just newly opened, and I, like an idiot, left it on a table in the middle of the living room. So she got it, and she's fine, is what I want to get to the point. But at the same time, my daughter had a doctor's appointment this morning because she's had a little bit of a health scare. So this appointment that she had this morning was big. It was a big deal. And it was at a children's hospital. And children's hospitals are amazing places. They're so full of hope and joy and gorgeous little babies and children. So much light. So I just found it fascinating to be experiencing a children's hospital, which I haven't been there in forever, fortunately, haven't had a need. And my daughter's fine. We got the best news ever, which is basically, just keeping an eye on things. So to have both a clean bill of health on my dog and my daughter, I am ever so grateful. But, it was an exhausting day and emotionally exhausting too. And then there was other stuff going on as well, as usual. But yeah, what do you got going on? My ex-hubby is out of town, so I'm not too bad, to be honest, all considering. Your ex-husband is out of town, hubby, ex-husband. Are you recently divorced? I kind of recall something about that, but it's been a while, Billy darling, Billy dear, or Billied. That's great news, Jess. I'm so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad. I'm so grateful. I feel extremely fortunate with the scares that we had with Coco, with the cancer, surgery twice in the last 2 years, the radiation treatment, and then a box of raisins. It's just like, you just can't win, can you? But I did. I mean, we've won with all of that. I mean, damn lucky. Yes, I separated, living separate since this February. He lives in the city. Well, I hope that's going well for you, sweetheart. I know that can be extremely stressful, but it can also be the solution to a really stressful situation. That's wild. That's pretty new. 9 months. How long were you married, if you want to share in the chat? And was it your first marriage, first divorce, or is it, if you want to share, you don't need to answer if you don't want to. Just knowing what is real and what's not real with this whole thing. You were here in my live yesterday, Billy, when it happened, and Vieja came in and said something about it. And I had every intention of talking about it in my live, but I probably would have forgotten to, honestly, if Vieja hadn't mentioned it. So I was really glad that she did. And it wasn't until right after the live, I think, that they announced that he didn't make it. So, I remember yesterday looking it up in real time and not knowing if it was even a faked situation. I don't think it was a faked situation at all. I think it was a staged situation. I'm completely convinced. That crap with those hand signals. I mean, it was like typical baseball weirdness. Like I said, it's almost like they want people to know. Or are they just that effing stupid? It could be that they're just that stupid, because you have to be stupid to be part of a professional assassination team. I mean, come on. You can figure out something better to do with your wit and your skills and your time and your efforts, right? Around 10 years, married about 4. My longest relationship is Mr. Darling. Oh, honey. Married about 4 times. So you probably say about because there's probably 1 or 2 in there that were long term, but you guys didn't have the documentation. But in California, if you live with somebody, is it 7 years, or is it just if you live with somebody, you're considered, everything's considered like marital property, right? Oh my God, did you see Pom-Pom's droopy face? Stroke for sure. Yes, absolutely, Billy Darling. And again, I'm so glad you brought it up because I almost used that for my thumbnail, but you reminded me that I didn't. So let me let Coco in real quick. Come on, Coco baby. Coco nut. Yeah, the droopy face. He's definitely had a stroke, hasn't he? Definitely had a stroke, it looked like. So the photo that I did use for my thumbnail is 2 photos of the girlfriend that little E and little T shared. So apparently she was a very wealthy heiress, British, and I have her name written down in here somewhere, but it's kind of neither here nor there. But that allegedly is photographs of her with her boyfriends when she was dating both of them at the same time. I don't think it's the first time they shared a woman. I mean, obviously they shared Melania. At least Jeffrey got in her pants a year before Donnie got in her pants, allegedly. But I bet there's a lot more to it than that. So, I don't know. I try not to think about my relationship with Mr. Darling that much. Yeah, I know. That's hard. That's stressful, my dear. That birthday book is very incriminating. It's the worst. So, Billy Darling, I put a link to the birthday book in the description of my little half-hour live from earlier today. If you are interested, or if you, it sounds like maybe you've looked at the whole book yourself. It's overwhelming. Like I was having trouble putting it down, because you can like turn pages like one by one. It's like 238 pages, I think. A lot of it's redacted. And still what you see is literally nauseating. Like I was literally sick today from looking at it last night. Literally. And the things that are said about Donnie by other people in their letters to Jeffrey for his 50th birthday, there's no way out of that. There's no way to deny. What's up, babe?
After a shower, can you give me a massage?
Yeah. There's no way for him to deny, like, oh, that letter wasn't about me. That was like some other person with the same name. I mean, it's like dozens of the birthday letters were referencing, basically all of them were referencing what a disgusting perv Jeffrey is and how it's funny that he should be in jail, but he's managed to not be. And then over half a dozen of those letters are referencing that Donnie's just as much of a dirty rat bastard as Jeffrey. It's so incriminating. I believe, to my understanding, that Charlie Kurt, after doing that 180 a couple weeks ago, in the last 48 hours, did a 180 again with that book. Seeing the whole book made him question trusting the administration on how to handle the situation. So I almost wonder if his assassination wasn't just pure retribution, and then there was like the side effect of it being a distraction. So at the same time that was happening, there was the shooting going on at the high school in Colorado at Evergreen High School, where 4 people were shot, and the one that passed away was the instigator, the assailant. And then my daughter told me again, like, she shouldn't be looking at this stuff. She told me that some guy got decapitated in a motel in Texas. Did you hear about that, Billy? I got to look it up. I didn't even look it up. She told me that right before I started. There's so much more for sure. Yep. I think he got wise and then got offed. Yeah. I know. I'm going to look it up right now. Let's see. Man decapitated in Texas motel. Let's see what happens here. Beheaded with a machete in a Dallas motel. Trigger warning. Put in the trash. Let's see what AI says about it. I'm going to read to you what AI says. A man was beheaded with a machete following an argument in a motel in Dallas, Texas, and a suspect is in custody. The victim was identified as 50-year-old Chandra Nagamala. I'm not saying the last name correctly. And the suspect as 34-year-old Jordanis Cobos Martinez. The incident occurred around 9:30 a.m. on Wednesday, September 10th, at the Downtown Suites Motel on Samuel Boulevard. The attack reportedly began over disagreement concerning a broken washing machine. Cabos Martinez was allegedly upset that Nagamalia spoke to a female witness to translate instead of speaking to him directly. The attack, according to a witness, he retrieved a machete and began attacking. Despite attempts by the victim's wife and son to intervene, the man fell while trying to escape and was decapitated. Holy crap. Yeah. That's god awful. The police quickly apprehended the assailant. He was covered in the red stuff and still armed with the weapon. He's been charged with capital red rum and is being held in Dallas County Jail. Jail records also indicate an immigration hold. Wow. Completely nuts. So, yeah, I don't have any inkling that that's connected to the other 2 things. That seems pretty random, and, even more interesting is the coincidence that there's an immigration angle involved. Whoa. So I've got so many notes. I'm just kind of trying to go slow and easy, Billy darling. We've got a couple others here if they want to say hi too. I was mentioning yesterday or earlier today, I forget which, in that birthday letter, the question that Donnie asks his bestie, have you ever noticed that enigmas don't age? And how enigma supposedly is backwards. I can't spell, and I'm dyslexic, so it's really hard for me. It's like my 2 hang-ups. Let's see. Enigma is ENIGMA. So then enigma. So then AMGINE. I couldn't find anything about, what Kirby Summers was saying is that that's a word that means like basically like a little tart kind of thing, like a nymph, a teenage nymph is essentially, I thought, what she was saying it means. And maybe that's more in slang, but I tried to look it up yesterday, but I think I was spelling it wrong. So I'm going to try to look it up again today. AMGINE. What does it mean? It's got this whole thing about AI automation platform. It's interesting. So it refers to an AI automation platform for corporate travel. I don't know if that has anything to do with the little riddle, but that whole letter from Donnie, the fake letter, and the whole book is like so coded. It's so speaking in code. At one point, what do I have in my notes here? A couple of things that I wanted to definitely hit on. At one point, it sounds like cannibalism, Billy. I'm just going to get straight to the point. What is it that was in that book? I think something like shopping trips. I can find that page. I probably took a screenshot of it, referring to shopping trips, which really makes me think of the slave trade. That's the shopping trip that they're referring to. But then also in that same birthday card from someone, they said something about yummy people. And sure, people can refer to yummy people just as, hot people. But it spooked me. It definitely spooked me. Let me look through my photographs, my screenshots real quick and see if I did screenshot that page. Oh man, let me see if I can show you some of these that just spooked the F out of me. This is a page out of the book. Can you see? It's four young guys in their Speedos, and it's actually Jeffrey and his friends when he's about 14 years old. That's one of the worst ones. Oh man, this is one of the worst ones. I think, yeah, this is Jeffrey on the right. That's Jeffrey on my right. And this is his friend in the birthday book, a photograph in the birthday book. I'm telling you, you got to go through it. It's gross. And why do they look like ICE agents with those effing masks on? My God, these people are so effing twisted. Here we go. A shopping trip. And so shopping trip is in quotes. And it says, with your old, in quotes, and I am friend. A shopping trip with your old friend. So that's probably when their slaves have aged out, so they need to go on a shopping trip for a young one, a new one. This was one of the worst. I think this has been getting a lot of airtime on the internet. I don't know if I'll be able to show it well. The thing that's so interesting about it, and I had put up a post in my community tab with this photograph. You really can't see it. You really got to go look at the book. it is a drawing of a man on a table. The man, even in this like childish drawing, I mean, the person has some talent. Sorry that you can't see it. Let me try another screenshot that I took of it. He is getting massaged by what looks like four identical little nymphs. And in the background, so this is the guy on the table. There's a building in the background and there's an airplane there. And this is a drawing within the drawing of him giving little tiny children balloons. So the image with the little tiny children getting balloons, and they're all wearing mini skirts and they all have their hair in little bows and ponytails, says 1983. And then the other one says 2003. And these, what looks like kids, are topless and they're just in G-strings. These four little blonde masseuses, you can kind of see it there. So there's Jeffrey, and the airplane is over here up in the background, and then that squiggle is a building. So my first thought looking at this picture was, oh, it looks like Epstein Island, right? And on closer look, a lot of more observant eyes than mine noticed that it's actually Mar-a-Lago. So somebody drew a picture of Jeffrey Epstein on a massage table with four topless females in G-strings. Two of them look very little, and then two of them look like they could be 16. And it just happens to be that he's getting this imaginary massage on a massage table outside of Mar-a-Lago in 2003. So that's the same year that this was given to him. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I think that's all, since I can't really show too well with my lack of, technical skill. Okay. Enigma. Enigma, right. So Magina. Nymphet. Yeah, thank you. My brain is not coming up with words. This is what happens later in the day. Shopping trips sound like stalking and buying. That too, Billy darling. You're very astute. Thank you. Absolutely. Like when Jiz would be driving around at the time that school was out so that she could give her little effing business card to these little kids. So gross. That's super creepy. Wow, he is a creep because they just kidnapped somebody or about to kidnap somebody. Oof. Seems like they creeped around to look for victims. In my opinion, allegedly, for F's sake. Yeah. Pom drew that, huh? Nah, that is Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you could tell, even with my lack of technical ability. With the masks, they look like kidnapping. Yeah, Billy. See, I was thinking more like SA. Both, right? Absolutely. I mean, that's what ICE does. ICE is out there kidnapping people. But yeah, they're also actually like execution masks, come to think of it. That's what my brain didn't want me to think or say. They're very much like the what an executioner has over their head. And I honestly think that there's a large element of that type of thing that was going on with these people, if you can call them people, with these monsters. Oh man. So the Alex Acosta meeting that happened 3 days ago, when are we going to hear about that? See, I think that is a lot of what they're trying to distract from too. They're trying to distract from the book being released to the public in the cloud, but yet the Senate voted to not release some of these files, right? That was, I think, determined last night. But the book is on the internet. I don't think that the Teflon rat bastard can get away with this one. I really don't. And I don't think he believes that he can either. I think that's why the desperation with potentially orchestrating the going-ons of what happened yesterday with the two tragedies, the one in Colorado and the one in Utah. Not to mention what seems unrelated, the horrific, catastrophic event at that motel in Dallas, Texas. Oh, man. So, yeah, I think I already said this at the beginning, but maybe I didn't say the whole thing, how this shooting of Charlie Kirk happened at 12:20 yesterday in the afternoon. What would that be, like Central Time? I don't think that's the West Coast time, but almost the Mountain Time. That's what it is. So in Mountain Time, 12:20. So that would have been, for me, it would have been probably about 2:20 in the afternoon when it happened. And then the high school was just before 1 p.m. So about a half an hour later. They started to say that they had like a time frame of the assailant that allegedly unalived Charlie Kirk, and the attacker, the shooter, arrived on the campus at 11:52, so 28 minutes prior to the shooting. They tracked his movements, and then they say that he jumped off the building and fled into a neighborhood. But then I also heard conflicting reports that he just blended into the crowd of college kids, that he looked like one of them. I'm going to sneeze too. But yeah, Donnie says he spoke to Erica, Charlie Kirk's wife, and that it was a really bad day for her. I mean, he just spoke about it so like vanilla, like so generally and insincerely. I mean, having that happen, you're not going to be in any condition to speak to anybody, not even the freaking president. I mean, and having a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old to contend with at the same time, this catastrophic event, your whole life just blowing up in front of you. Unreal. So today, I guess Donnie decided that he needs to bolster his security because, it's all about him. And so for this 9/11 event that they typically have at the Pentagon outside, he moved it to be like in an inner courtyard. And then Vance was supposed to be there, but he or was Vance supposed to go to New York City, actually? I think Vance was supposed to go to New York City. I got this from Mary Trump, who lives in New York City. She did a quick live right before I came on. So rather than going to this 9/11 event, the vice president flew to Charlie Kirk's family. So in my theory of this being a hit, choreographed by this administration, it really fits with sending the vice president there. You know, you got to keep a close eye on everything, and you got to look sincere. And it's just mind-boggling, the thing about giving Charlie Kirk the highest Medal of Honor for a civilian, which is the same thing Trumpster Fire said he wants to give to Rudy Giuliani for being a little fender bender. And it's like, why is he throwing these medals of honor around to his affiliates? Like, to me, it really screams of a guilty conscience. He's trying to buy him off, trying to pay him off. It doesn't make any sense. Nothing about it makes sense except for that, in my opinion. He ordered it. Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard other content creators saying the same kind of theory. So I'm glad that I'm not out here all alone with my theory, because, you know, I felt like I was taking a big risk when I just said it so plainly earlier today. But I also feel like it's a risk that needs to be taken, because I'm pretty sure it's probably accurate. It's not something that I would normally think or really entertain so early on. You know, I always want to give things time. I always want to like let the facts roll in and see how things shake out. But this, it doesn't feel like we have the time, because they're trying to use it as an instigation for an insurrection of their Nazi fantasy. And if Donnie's health is failing to the point that he's stroking out, and then Vance is in charge, and then Stephen Miller, and that other weakling, I mean, these people are so unskilled and reckless and dark and evil. Mike Johnson, I mean, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, like, what do these people know about the positions that they're in? They don't know anything. The only reason, in my opinion, that any of them are in those positions is loyalty, and that they're spineless, that they will do whatever the F Mr. Moneybags tells them to do. It's unreal. It's just unreal that these people have been put into these appointments, like Kristi Noem, Pamela Bondi, Caroline Levitt. I mean, don't you think that they just would surrender already? Like, surrender, Dorothy, come on. And yeah, they really are the freaking flying monkeys, aren't they? Trump's Oz, you know, pay no attention to the man behind the curtain, and all of these freaks that he surrounds himself with are his flying monkeys. Like, they will do anything for him, except Dan Bongino. I've half wondered if he's in hiding, or if something has already happened to him, like what happened to Charlie Kirk yesterday, because I don't think he's been seen or heard from for weeks. He was talking about quitting. He was getting into an arguing match face off with Pam Bondi, and I think that was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and made some statements like, you know, if she doesn't get fired, I'm quitting. And he's still apparently not quit. She still apparently hasn't been fired. I mean, they're kind of like the pawns that need the king in a chess game that he needs to surround himself with to protect himself. Right? Let's see. Fake shot photo shoot, and now Chuck, right after he did his 180 on files, seems deliberate to me. Yeah. Fake shot photo shoot. I don't know what the fake shot photo shoot is, Billy. I'm curious if you want to explain what you're referring to there. I follow the rest of it. And now Chuck right after. Oh, are you talking about the assassination attempt last year? Is that what you're talking about with the fake shot photo shoot? And now Chuck right after he did his 180 on the file seems deliberate to me. I don't know if the base will take anyone else but Pom Pom. And I'm not sure who you mean when you say Pom Pom. You're speaking in a code that I'm not familiar with. Pom Pom. Pom Pom decides all his admin consistently, so the base will too. Are you talking about Daddy Vladdy? That's the nickname that I use. Because PP, I mean, I used to use that as a nickname for him. But Daddy Vladdy is more direct. It's easier for people to follow. So I'm wondering if that's what you mean by Pom Pom. OMG, did you see how he said his brother was a great looking guy to marry in a card? Oh my God, it's so weird. Great looking guy. I'm not sure. I don't think I saw what you're talking about. OMG, did you see how he said his brother was a great looking guy to marry in a card? Oh my God, it's so weird. Great looking guy. And are you talking about Donnie's brother? That Donnie said that in a card? Yep, fake shot in the ear and then the impromptu photo shoot. Oh, totally. Totally. It was so fake. So I was thinking about it more the other day, Billy, because that I also thought was fake from jump. But I really bit my lip and kept my mouth shut about it for a long time because what a horrible thing to accuse somebody of if they are seriously a victim of an assassination attempt, right? So I waited and waited and waited, and I was just shocked how long I waited and how nobody seemed to be expressing suspicion about it. And then slowly I started to find a couple other people expressing suspicion about it. But my suspicion never went away. There was never a day when I thought that he may have had been actually the victim of a real assassination attempt. But, I was thinking about it the other day and thinking how if the bullet grazed his ear, and it's my understanding that it was an AR-15 and that shrapnel would have exploded his ear, that there's no like grazing, that it either explodes the trigger warning, the flesh, or it doesn't. So that's not the type of bullet that can graze. But the other thing that I didn't know when I was looking it up online a few days ago, because I'm not a gun nut, my husband is. He's law enforcement. He's a total gun nut, but we don't talk guns because it's not my thing. I didn't know the whole thing about when a bullet's traveling through the air that it like pressurizes the air because it's traveling so fast. The air doesn't have time to make room for it to travel through. And so if you have a bullet that close to your ear, the pressure can like explode your eardrum. It can cause a concussion. So like having an AR-15 bullet whiz by your ear is probably going to destroy your eardrum and may give you a head injury. So when I was looking this up a few days ago, I thought, well, if he had a traumatic brain injury, if that, it's entertaining for a moment, like let's pretend that could have been a real assassination attempt and a real bullet. If he had a traumatic brain injury, maybe that's what we're seeing now, that, traumatic brain injuries can take a year or more to take effect. So, but I think it would have injured his ear and his eardrum. I don't think that that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing strokes and that kind of thing, the congestive heart failure. And who knows, he was so promiscuous, he could have like syphilis and a bunch of other STDs as well. Herpes. I mean, you can't be that promiscuous and not have picked up a lot of germs. And I guess he's a germaphobe, but that would make sense why, especially if he maybe had been exposed to hepatitis at some point in time. I don't know. I mean, hepatitis isn't something that you can contract from another person. Is it? I mean, it's something that you more like get from food, or I guess you can, because it's like food and needles and stuff. So maybe. Let's see. Orange Menace. I heard somebody the other day, just like yesterday, saying how funny it is that he's always like 3 shades off in his makeup with like, the 2 orange for the face and then the 2 white for the hand. I thought that was a good silly joke to talk about. It was probably Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart's been killing it. Unfortunately, all the comedians have been killing it with this stuff. I mean, I say unfortunately because it's crazy the amount of asinine material that they're being served up on a silver platter. I mean, the jokes just write themselves virtually, right? Mary has autograph comparison. Oh yeah, I've seen a lot of autograph comparison, and I've seen a professional forensic handwriting analyst go over the strokes and like the pressure, how he has at the end of Donald, he's got that long tail and how it angles and the pressure changes. Is very specific. And yeah, if you've ever tried to forge someone's signature, you know how hard that is. And it's virtually impossible. But at the same time, it's like, for F's sake, you don't need a forensic handwriting analyst to look at it. You can just look at it with your naked eye, and it is so obvious it's the same. But I want to talk more too about how those jagged movements that he makes when he's doing his signature, it's very violent and stabby, basically. And to me, it shows a lot of aggression. It shows a lot of anger. I know when I saw that flag fall into place and Poophead raised a fist, what a clown with fake wrestling blood capsules. Absolutely. And he's going to have the fake wrestling on the White House lawn next year if he makes it to next year. I don't think he's going to make it past, I don't know, another week, fingers crossed. I mean, hopefully far less than that, because he's just absolutely a danger to himself and others. And yeah, the other thing about that all the weird photographs from that ridiculous staged assassination attempt was the bullet being caught in a photograph, right? And that was just like one little bullet, which isn't the type of bullet that comes out of an AR-15. There's so many things wrong with all of those images. His head being up higher than the Secret Service people in front of him, for the photo shoot. But it's like, if somebody's shooting at your head, the first thing you're going to do is keep your head down. The last thing you're going to do is put your head up above other people's heads that are supposed to be protecting you. And then the people around him, I mean, just so staged. I've always thought that the crowds look very staged at his rallies. And wow, it turns out that they are. Who knew? Right? Love Jon Stewart too. Oh my goodness. And Josh Johnson has been funny AF. I'll put a link in the description to some of the best Daily Show crap that they've been churning out the last few days. Unbelievable. It's like laugh or cry, right? LOL, bullet in a photo. Exactly. As if. completely nuts. But most people buy it, and if not, they say it's AI. Right? Love, love, love me some Josh. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, Billy, darling, should we talk about the Amanda Knox case? We've been on for an hour, and it's hard to talk about this awful crap. Um, mhm. Rosie's Insights had a really good video yesterday. I'll put a link to it in the description. Should we talk about the Amanda Knox case? You said sure. I don't know anything about that case. Oh, really? See, and there I am doing what I always say is the stupidest thing to do, is calling it the case by the perpetrator. It's the Meredith Kercher case. Oh, I'd love to teach you, Billy, darling. Oh, my goodness. So should I just start at the beginning? So there's the 4 miniseries of The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox that she just produced with her friend, Monica Lewinsky, and a handful of others. Her husband was one of the producers. One of the scariest things to me about Amanda Knox, other than her being a complete raging psychopath, is that she has 2 small children. So, yeah, let's go. So in 2007, she was 20 years old. She was going to the University of Washington, which is a very prestigious university. They're very selective. It's hard to get in. And she was getting really good grades there. She's book smart anyway. She's not a bright person, but she knows how to study and get good grades. And she's also at least bilingual, if not more than bilingual. So she knew Italian. Hey, Coco, can you come up? Can you come up? She's wanting a treat. I don't have any treats, baby. There, you can see her pretty face. Oh, she's so cute. She's such a love bug. She's 10 years old. My old lady dog. So Amanda Knox went to a very prestigious prep school in Seattle. She was from more middle class, so she was like on a scholarship. But again, she earned the scholarship with her good grades to go to the Seattle prep school on Capitol Hill. And then she got into the University of Washington. So she lived in West Seattle, where she grew up. Her parents divorced when she was young. And she decided she wanted to study abroad for like her junior year of college, I guess it might have been. And so she went to, I always hack the name of the town, Perugia, I think is how you say the name of the town. It's an Italian city that has multiple universities. So most of the people in Perugia are students. So she was a student. Her roommates were all students. They lived in the upstairs of a villa. There were 4 of them, 4 chicks that lived upstairs and 4 dudes that lived downstairs. And then the guy, Raphael Solicio, that she dated there, was also a student. He was a graduate student. He was Italian, and his dad was a doctor, and he was very wealthy and very driven. He was actually working on his freaking thesis. I just found that out a couple of days ago, and I've been studying up on the Meredith Kercher case for years. I didn't really pay that much attention to it when it was in the mainstream media. But being from Seattle, I was curious about it. I kind of felt like I could identify with Foxy Knoxy in a lot of ways, which is embarrassing. But, I was a party animal back then when I was the same age. And living in that area, I went to college at Evergreen State College in Olympia, Washington. But anyway, I went to college there in the late 80s, early 90s, and she was a college student in 2008. So quite an age difference, or 2007, sorry. So what, like a 15 or 20-year age difference? Let's see. If I was born in 1967, how old would I have been? Like 40 when that happened. So she was 20. So I'm 20 years older than her. There we go. There's some good math for you. And so when she went on this trip, she had a boyfriend in Seattle that she was still together with when she went on the trip. And she was basically screwing everybody that she could in Perugia and having a lot of fun with it and working at a bar and flirting and smoking a lot of pot and probably doing some of the Coca-Cola stuff. She hadn't been there for too long. She'd only been away from home for like 6 weeks when this tragedy happened to her roommate. But she was in Perugia for about 2 weeks, and then she went to Germany for 2 weeks. And then she came back from Germany and was in Perugia again for another 2 weeks. She had like I think her stepsister was traveling with her. Somebody was traveling with her, and she had like extended family in Germany. Somebody that was not really an uncle, I think, but like an uncle who owned a law firm, and she was going to do an internship for 2 weeks. So that's why she went to Germany. And the story is that she showed up for the internship, but didn't really do anything at the law office. But my guess is that she was probably trying to make money too, because she was very motivated and she made a lot of her own money to take this trip. So she was always broke because she was spending all of her money on party favors, and then just kind of glossing over that she's sleeping around and offending a lot of people because she's very brash and has like zero concern for other people, just a complete narcissist, extremely rude and inconsiderate and loud and dirty. Like she's got really poor hygiene habits. Like she doesn't bathe. Allegedly, she doesn't do the chores around the house, and she is just kind of gross. Like the roommates are all sick of her by the time this situation happened. So it was Halloween of 2007, and they make a really big deal of it there, and it's like All Saints Day, the Day of the Dead. I think it's like it was a 3-day weekend. It was like a Thursday was Halloween, Friday was All Saints Day, and then Saturday was the Day of the Dead or something like that. But basically everybody in the house, the villa that she lived in, they all went away for the weekend. So the 4 guys downstairs and 2 of the roommates from upstairs, but her and Meredith were both there for that weekend. A couple of weeks before that weekend, she may or may not have slept with one of the downstairs neighbors named Giacomo, something like that. And he played guitar and Meredith played guitar. And so Amanda asked Meredith if she could borrow her guitar, and she would try to act like she knew how to play guitar so that she could try to hit on Giacomo. But she didn't know how to play guitar, and he wasn't that interested in her. And then he got interested in Meredith, and then him and Meredith started to date. And then one night, about 6 nights before the Red Rum, allegedly Meredith and Amanda went to see some type of concert, like an orchestra or something like that. And Meredith might have left Amanda there. And then that's where Amanda met Celicio. So she was alone, abandoned at this little musical event. And then they hooked up and they hopped in the sack that night and for the next 6 nights in a row. So again, he's working on his thesis. This guy, I think, had not ever had sex before. He was inexperienced, or that's how we'll say it. He was like 23 years old, and he was a total nerd. And like I said, his dad was a doctor. He was studying computer science, I think, like he was an engineer. So he already had his bachelor's degree. He was working on his master's degree. And, so he's getting laid for 6 days straight, falling behind on his studies. And then when the weekend rolls around and it's Halloween, Amanda's trying to coordinate with Meredith because Meredith had all these friends there. Meredith was from London, so they both spoke English. Meredith was a year older. She was much more sophisticated, and she had class. And she was very elegant and beautiful, and just, didn't need to try so hard. Like Amanda was kind of like the overachiever trying to get everybody's attention. Meredith was kind of mellow and got everybody's attention without trying. It's what it seems to me. So Amanda wanted to go to the Halloween parties with her, the Day of the Dead parties, the day after Halloween. And she'd been texting Meredith, and Meredith was not responding to her texts because she was sick of her, and her friends didn't like Amanda, and Meredith was going to parties with her friends, and her friends didn't want anything to do with Amanda. So also Amanda worked at this bar called Le Chic, and Patrick Mumba was the owner of the bar, and she had gotten a text that night that she didn't need to come in. And this is November 1st, and rent is due, and she's broke. She has no money. She has no rent money. Meredith, on the other hand, was from a more financially sound family and had plenty of money to cover her bills. And she actually had cash. She'd withdrawn cash from the bank to pay the rent. So she had that in her room, in her dresser, like 300 or 350 euros. And Patrick was trying to get Meredith to work at the bar. And so at the same time that he's canceling Amanda, he's trying to court Meredith because she was just more the kind of person that he wanted around. Amanda was very irresponsible and was always hitting on the customers, allegedly. And so anyway, he texted her. She didn't need to come in that night, and it was a Friday night, and there were the parties. And so she went to her apartment, I think, to try to find Meredith and to try to go to the parties with Meredith. And she maybe didn't find Meredith, but she at some point found the money in her room. And then I think at some point in the night, Meredith figured that out and accused her of it. And then at some point in the night, it seems that Meredith was unalived with 2 knives on 2 sides of her throat. And this was in her bedroom. And she's found in there the next day, disrobed under a blanket on the floor. And she also has like 37 superficial nicks on her face. So she'd been tortured for a while too. And so Amanda's story is that she had spent the night at Raphael's, and they smoked some pot, and they watched her favorite movie, Amelie, and they cooked dinner together, and the kitchen sink pipes burst. And so in the morning, she went home to take a shower, which she doesn't really shower. And why wouldn't she just take a shower at her boyfriend's house? But she went home. Her story is that she went home in the morning to take a shower. And when she got there, that the front door was wide open. And the front door was kind of broken. So they actually would have to keep it locked to keep it closed. So it was really weird that it was wide open. And she went in, and then she proceeds. This is her story. She goes into her bedroom, takes off all of her clothes in her bedroom, and then goes to the bathroom to take a shower, noticing on the way there some blood on the ground, but she's not very shaken up by it. The fact that the door was wide open, she still gets butt naked in her bedroom and then walks through the house to go to the shower. thinking that Meredith is home, even though she knew nobody was home, because when she came in, nobody was home. Except maybe there could be somebody in there because the door was wide open. But none of her story makes sense. She comes out of the shower. She sees more blood on the bath mat. And then she is still just thinking, oh, probably one of the roommates had their period and bled all over the place. And since nobody else is there, Meredith must have bled her disgusting period all over the bath mat. And so she's just laissez-faire, goes into the other bathroom that the other roommates shared and borrows their blow dryer. She's blow drying her hair in there. And then she notices the poop in the toilet. And this whole effing story just revolves around that poop in the toilet, not her friend that is now gone, but she's so deranged. She just like fixates on that poop in the toilet. So in her story, the second she saw the poop in the toilet, she got really scared because she knew somebody was in there, because nobody in that house would have left poop in the toilet, except word on the street is that she would not flush the toilet. Anyway, so she runs out of the house, but she grabs the mop to take to her boyfriend's house to clean up because of all of the water that was all over the kitchen floor. And then she talks the boyfriend, Raphael, into walking over to the apartment with her because of the front door being left open. Oh, she looks crazy as hell. Yeah, she does. Oh, she's guilty like Sammy. She's so much like Sammy. Over the last 3 years, Billy, I have made so many videos comparing her to Sammy. I also am the first one on YouTube that started comparing her case to the Idaho 4, which we don't need to talk about Idaho 4. That whole thing is a crock of crap as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, for a while there, I was making comparisons with Meredith Kercher, Kylie Rodney, and Idaho 4. But we'll just stay focused on the Kylie Rodney and Meredith Kercher. Lots of jealousy and the party thing. Killer left the poop. Yeah, somebody left the poop, but man, she will never stop talking about that poop. That poop was like 18 years ago, and you will never hear the end of Amanda and her poop story. So it's insane. Brian is one too. Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Yeah, Amanda does look, she's got the Charles Manson eyes. She's a very attractive person, superficially, if she wasn't such an awful person, and if you get a photo of her where she doesn't have the Charles Manson eyes. But she is just plain knucking futz. Like, she would be like smiling and grimacing during her trial. She would wear weird, sexy clothes or clothes with writing on them. You know, kind of reminds me of Melania with the jacket that said on the back, "I don't care, do you?" She wore a shirt to court one day that said, like, "Love is all you need." And then another day she wore some Beatles jacket that had writing on the back. But, you know, she was really into the Beatles, and so was that guy that Meredith might have stolen from her, Giacomo. He was also into the Beatles. So anyway, so when her and Raphael get to the apartment and she's carrying the mop, because, you know, it's a small town and they just walk across town from apartment to apartment. As they're walking up to the apartment, I think the police are arriving to the apartment because they have a couple of cell phones that are connected to the house that somebody found in their garden down the street. So she's caught off guard. You know, she wasn't planning on meeting up with the cops so early. But they have two types of cops in Italy. So they have like the petty crime cops, and then they have like the homicide detectives. So this was just the petty crime cops. And also Rafaela's sister is a cop. I mentioned that his father is a doctor, but his whole family is like Italian mafia too. He's connected. So he calls his sister right away when they're at the apartment. He doesn't call the police until after he's interacted with those police. He sneaks off to then call the police to say, we need like detectives here because we have a situation. But then they both try to pretend that he had called the police like a minute before the what do they call them? I think they call them Caberini, something like that, Caberini police. And so none of her story adds up. The police notice right away. She tries to say, oh, look, there was a break-in in one of the other girls' bedrooms, and there's like a rock inside the bedroom, and the windows are broken. But there's like an $800 Gucci bag right there. There's a laptop. There's jewelry. Nothing is stolen out of that room. And the glass is on top of some stuff that had been messed with. So they knew that this stuff had been messed with by Amanda because she said something about that, but then the glass is on top of it. So she gave herself away that the glass was broken on top of this stuff after she did that stuff. So it turns out that at some point in time back in Seattle, she had staged a break-in for a friend for a prank at some point in time. So she's done that before. But the rock is also really big. The apartment is up on the second floor. So they're like, how could anybody like throw that boulder from ground level up that high? That's just not the way gravity and physics work. And there were wooden shutters on the window that weren't broken, but they were open. So somebody would have had to have climbed up, opened the shutters, and then, with this giant boulder, and then thrown it in the window. And none of it added up. And Meredith's door was locked. And so eventually the detective police come eventually, I think it's like 1:00 in the afternoon when Meredith's door is kicked in and they find her in there. And Amanda is just outside making out with her boyfriend, Raphael, when this is happening. And those are some of the most famous pictures from the case that maybe you've seen, is Amanda and Raphael necking right outside the apartment as Meredith's body is being discovered. So eventually all of her behavior is so bizarre and off, and she's got this big scrape on her neck that's like over 1 inch long and like 1/4 inch wide. And in her little portrayal of the whole situation, and back then she tried to pretend it was like a hickey or something, but it was obviously a scratch. Eventually they get Raphael and Amanda to the police station. Amanda implicates Patrick, the guy who was basically firing her from working at his bar. And Patrick is black, and so is this other guy, Rudy, Rudy had a criminal past. He had a criminal history. And I guess Italy might be kind of racist, or it's just mostly white people there. So, a couple of black guys getting arrested for this case looked really bad. One sec. And see what you're saying. Because it's her poop. Duper's delight with the poop. Yeah, she's got the duper's delight all the way home. Absolutely. That's a really good phrase for her. So when she's at the police station, she implicates Patrick, and the police are kind of being coy with her because she's so suspicious. Everything about her story is suspicious. None of it adds up. Apparently, she'd been at a store really early that morning, like before 8 o'clock, buying cleaning products, allegedly, apparently. She denies that, and there's no receipts, so that's hearsay. But there's also a jar of Vaseline found on top of Meredith's dresser, and Amanda has a dildo in the movie. They have it like in her toiletries bag, but I have always thought that it was a keychain. Actually, it's like a small bunny rabbit thing that she would carry around to gross people out, and she thought it was funny. So I don't know what was used, but the Vaseline was used in the attack. And basically, Amanda was accused of grape and red rum. She was accused of being the mastermind behind it. And there was a lot of evidence to support that. So some of that evidence is her DNA being on a knife, on the handle of a knife in her boyfriend's kitchen drawer, and Meredith's DNA being on the blade of that same knife in the boyfriend's kitchen drawer. So for a couple of days, they're getting interrogated, and at one point, the police take Amanda to her apartment, and they ask her to open the kitchen drawer and to look through it to see if there's any knives missing. And as soon as she puts her hand on the door and opens it, she completely falls apart and loses her mind and literally starts like banging on her head, and crying and saying, she's having a flashback, like she's like hearing voices and stuff. She's hearing Meredith scream, basically, and the whole thing is pretty jarring. But in around that same time, she sent a very deranged email to her professors at the University of Washington, and somewhere in all my videos, there's one of me reading that whole email. I should dig it up because it's really profound. Very self-incriminating. I mean, she just tells on herself all the long day. And then, but she tries to say Patrick did it. And so she says her first story is that she was there at the apartment when it happened, and Patrick did it, and she heard the scream. So, she's got all these twisted lies. It's funny that she calls her little series The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox, because it's all these twisted lies where she's trying to fit her lies into the hard evidence that they're confronting her with, but none of it's adding up. And so, like a week later, she gives up and she comes up with a new story of, I don't know. She's got like two totally different stories. And still to this day, she thinks that should be fine because she's Amanda and she should be able to do whatever she wants. So Patrick spent 2 weeks in prison or jail before he was released. And then they got Rudy's DNA, Rudy Goudet, I think is how you say his last name. So you got all these people from all these different countries. Amanda's American, her boyfriend's Italian, Meredith is British, Rudy Goudet is from the Ivory Coast of Africa, and I forget where Patrick is from. I think he's from like Brazil or something. Anyway, Patrick is married, has a small child, and owns this business, and he loses everything after being in jail for 2 weeks and being implicated. And he loses his business, he goes through a divorce, he loses custody of his child. I mean, his whole life is wrecked. So just a year ago, Amanda had tried to retry some of the case because there's still charges against her for slandering Patrick. So she's still charged with that. So she served like 4 years of hard time. She was sentenced to 20 or 30. I think she was somewhere in there. She was sentenced to 20 to 30 years, as was Raphael. Raphael's DNA was found on Meredith's bra clasp that was cut off of her body and wasn't found in the room for like a month and a half. So it wasn't bagged into evidence for a month and a half. So they were able to throw that evidence out. But they were also able to say that the other DNA evidence was faulty. So after the two of them serving 4 years each, they were able to get their cases overturned. And then they got reconvicted, and then they got the cases overturned again. And so Rudy Goudet, he confessed to his part in the situation and was sentenced to 16 years. I think he served 13 years, and he was released a couple of years ago. And Amanda tries to say that her and Raphael have been friends ever since. Raphael's written a book about his ordeal, and he says that he knew Amanda for 6 days and it ruined the rest of his life. So that's where he stands. You know, she calls that a friendship. I guess it all depends on how you define friendship. So, you know, essentially they got really lucky. They had contacts. So a huge element that I left out that is of the utmost importance is that CNN was a very small channel when this whole thing started in 2007. And CNN used Meredith Kercher's case as their vehicle to cement themselves as a news channel. And they literally paid for all of Amanda's family's travel expenses and legal expenses. And the other super important little small detail that I forgot to mention is the first thing they did was they hired a PR expert in Seattle. Like they hired the best PR team, professional folks, you know, public relations spin masters. So they spent $1 million on the PR people in Seattle. Then, so the news that our country got about this case was very slanted by CNN wanting this to be their cash cow and wanting to kind of preserve the reputation of Americans in Italy, because, you know, Italians hate Americans because they're all pigs like Amanda. So she's just the worst of the worst. But anyway, you know, Italy really wanted to kind of whitewash things too, because they didn't want people to be afraid of sending their kids to college in their college town where that was their main industry. So the whole thing got whitewashed with all of that money and all those connections. And rather than just like being glad that she got away with Red Rum, she just can't stop talking about it. And she attaches herself to the Innocence Project, and she goes on every effing talk show that she can. I bet you she was on Charlie Kirk. Let me see. Let's see what. Somebody just sent me something that Trump tests positive for coronavirus. No, I think he's testing positive for stroke and panic attack, testing positive for being a effing perv. I was going to look up Charlie Kirk and Amanda Knox. I bet you anything he interviewed her. Oh my goodness. And I got to remember to mention something about this Max Gladwell. this idiot who wrote a series, or he wrote something about how Amanda got framed, and True Crime Rocket Science debunked all of this. Maxwell Gladwell, whatever his name is, I'll look him up. And he is a guy who hung out with Jeffrey Epstein. That his name came up in the birthday book. He's a real dirtbag. Anyway, 1 second with Charlie Kirk, Amanda Knox. Okay, maybe she didn't go on his show. I thought she did. She went on a bunch of people's shows. Did Amanda Knox ever get interviewed by Charlie Kirk? No. She's participated in many high-profile media interviews, documentaries, and specials with news organizations like ABC, CNN, and Netflix since her acquittal for the Red Rum of Meredith Kercher. Media appearances have focused largely on her wrongful conviction, her personal trauma, and her advocacy work, always playing the victim. So yeah, she didn't go on his show, but she's been on so many. So who is this guy who wrote Blink? Blink author Malcolm Gladwell. So I did not like his book. I've talked about his book before. He wrote a book about how to keep yourself safe in dangerous situations, with his title tying into that you collect all the information that you need in the blink of an eye to make an assessment on to get yourself out of a bad situation. Essentially, his whole book was a plagiarized ripoff of Gavin de Becker's The Gift of Fear, which is a fantastic book that I've read a lot, and I've recommended it a lot. I've talked about it on my channel quite a bit, not for a while though. So Gavin de Becker's book, The Gift of Fear, is an amazing book. Maybe you've read it, Billy. And this guy, this Malcolm Gladwell, who I guess grew up in a really wealthy family and hung out with Jeffrey Epstein, but he liked Gavin's book so much that he just like repackaged it and called it Blink, and he made a lot of money and made a big name for himself with his freaking plagiaristic crap. So when I saw his name in the Epstein birthday book, it didn't surprise me at all. But back to his connection with Amanda, for some reason he wanted to be in on the whitewashing of Amanda's involvement with Meredith Kercher. And then luckily Nick from True Crime Rocket Science took it upon himself to do a deep dive and shred that crap up, because I think more people need to know what a snake Amanda is. I think she is such a danger to, she's a menace to society. I think she's a danger to those little kids. It's like, you know, she's like another Susan Smith, or who's the woman who killed her 5 kids in Texas? Let me ask AI. It's not coming to me. Oh, Andrea Yates. I just had to look at my screen to think of it. So yeah, she reminds me of Andrea Yates or Susan Smith or my own father. I mean, she's one of those. So yeah, I don't know what else I should say, but I can read your comments here. It doesn't look like you have any new ones if you're still here, Billy, darling. Any questions? That was a 39-minute rundown of the Meredith Kercher case. So it's so sad. Her poor sister, she was, I think she had a brother and a sister. I think Amanda might have had like a half brother and half sister, or maybe step. I think it was a stepsister, the one that she traveled with. But, she was just so entitled. So many disturbed persons. Ugh, absolutely. Absolutely. And when these people get away with red rum, like Scammy, in my opinion, um, I'm glad that she can't leave well enough alone, because I do think that she could really trip herself up with this new little series. I mean, it was 18 years ago. There's been so many documentaries about Meredith Kercher's case, and some really good ones. Not to mention True Crime Rocket Science. He's written like 6 books about it. He's gone there to Perugia. I don't know if he's interviewed Meredith's family or what, but another content creator who does a really good, thorough job of studying the case and undoing the gaslighting is Roberta Glass. I'll put a link to one of her videos in the description too. So Roberta Glass and True Crime Rocket Science are the only 2 channels that I know of off the top of my head that have done extensive studies to prove that Amanda's full of crap. But it doesn't take a lot of knowledge of the case to know that Amanda's full of crap, because, like I've said, she gives herself away. One of the things that she did that the police found so offensive, and anybody who hears about it finds it offensive, and I can actually see doing this. She, at the police station when she was being interrogated, she did yoga. She did cartwheels and splits in the hallways while she was waiting, and it made her look really bad. I can see if you're there all night and you're sore, and I could see doing stuff like that. But that's the thing with gaslighters, is that you can always like kind of bend your imagination to stretch reality and what's normal and go, okay, I guess somebody might do yoga at the police station when their roommate is deceased in their apartment, and they're there at the apartment with the deceased body for like 4 hours. Okay, sure. Then you might need to stretch after that, after telling your story, right? A lot of things like that she got heavily criticized for, and she brings them up in her little docu-series to try to show her side of it. When she got out of jail, she got like a $4 million book deal to write her story. I think her book is called Waiting to Be Heard. I'm pretty sure. One second. I got the cocoa again. Yes. Oh, we got crazy puppies. Okay, I'm going to wrap up in a minute.
No, they don't.
All righty. Crazy puppy's trying to get in. It's getting late. Do yoga. Nah, she is a danger. Right. I mean, yeah, you're not going to do yoga at the police station. Unless you're like NK from the Watts case, right? She probably did yoga at the police station too. Thanks, honey. Come here, Coco. Girl, you're informed. I think she did it because textbook sociopath personality. Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you can see it in her freaking Charles Manson eyes. And I think she even might have written a book called Don't Look for the Answer in My Eyes, or something like that. Or maybe that's like a chapter in her book. I have not read her book, and I don't think I want to. Watching her series was hard for me because she's so freaking awful. She's so hard to stomach, but I'm glad that I watched it. so that I can take it and use it against her. What did I say it's called? The Waiting to Be Heard is the book. What did I just say, my dear Billy? The totally brain dead. Waiting to Be Heard, Amanda Knox. Waiting to Be Heard, a memoir. So she wrote it in 2013. Oh, I was saying about the don't look for the answer in my eyes. Let me see. Don't look for the answer in my eyes, Amanda Knox. Don't try to find the answer in my eyes. I think it's just something she said. Okay, Amanda Knox has made multiple statements throughout the legal proceedings in Italy and public life, but recent statements focus on her 2024 slander conviction, which she calls gaslighting, the queen of the gaslighting, and an attempt by the Italian justice system to maintain their reputation by scapegoating her after her exoneration from murder charges, after she scapegoated on Patrick to get back at him for firing her. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention was that at some point, Meredith and Amanda got into an argument over the hottie downstairs, and Amanda said to her, "You can have him," which I think that when she hooked up with Raphael, that was basically like revenge sex. Like she was trying to say, well, look, I have a boyfriend too. I don't need stupid hot guy downstairs, Giacomo. In these statements, she emphasizes the injustice of being found guilty of slander, which she views as a consolation prize for the court after its own failures in the murder investigation. Oh, she's so evil. So, yeah, I don't know if she said that. The don't look for the answer in my eyes. I think right here is a true crime rocket science. Oh, maybe that's what is that what Gladwell called his book? I don't know. I don't know if Gladwell wrote a book. Let me look that up real quick. Amanda Knox, Don't Look for the Answer in My Eyes. Amanda Knox, Malcolm Gladwell. Don't try to find the answer in my eyes. Anyway. You're trying to find the answer in my eyes. You're looking at me. Why? These are my eyes. They're not objective evidence. No, but people can have their opinions. People can say you look like you have Charles Manson eyes. I mean, I'll say that about Brian Kohberger in the Idaho 4, even though I don't think he did it. I definitely think he has the Charles Manson eyes, so it makes it easy to pin it on him. Let's see. Don't Look is a crazy confession of crazy. More dupers delight behavior. She got mad when her lawyer told her to be appropriate. She was in competition with Meredith in her head. Yes, Brian has weird eyes too. Yeah, he does. He's got like soulless eyes. I mean, Scott Peterson has those eyes too. It's weird how like the pupils and the irises of killers' eyes just like get black. Like I seriously think something happens on like a chemical level. Sammy's got that too. And Sammy probably has blue eyes. I don't know. Maybe she has brown eyes, but she's got soulless demon eyes, right? His affect is off. Yeah, isn't it? I know. I can hardly believe that Gabby was ever engaged to him. I mean, that was like a charity case, huh? Dilated eyes. Exactly, Billy Darling. Exactly. So, yeah, that's the Amanda Knox in a nutshell. When she got the $4 million book deal, that was like unheard of at that point in time. And she just can't stop cashing in on it. And she's an attention whore, so that's why I think she likes to hook up with the Innocence Project. But my concern with somebody like her and the Innocence Project is that if you're guilty and you're attaching yourself to the Innocence Project, you can bring down the entire Innocence Project. And there are people that have been convicted who are innocent, who need that Innocence Project. So it's just vile for her, especially for her to connect herself to it when her case happened in Italy. Like, she's probably the only international case in all of the Innocence Projects. I'm not sure, but I would bet. And I was going to go watch an Innocence Project presentation, like a conference in Dayton, Ohio, like a year ago. It was that guy, what is his name? If I can think of it with my brain dead night brain. Dean Gillespie? I think it's Dean Gillespie. Let me see. Dean Gillespie. Ohio Innocence Project. Ohio Innocence Project. Dean Gillespie, Ohio Innocence Project. Gillespie, Ohio. Man, it's just not working. Hold on. One more time. Ohio Innocence Project, Dean Gillespie. Yeah, I did get his name right. There's something new with him in June of 2025. So Dean Gillespie is 60 years old. He served 20 years behind bars before he was freed, and his name was cleared with the help of the Ohio Innocence Project. He was also awarded $45 million for wrongful conviction. He was convicted in 1991 and released from prison in 2011. And this is why it was in the news a couple of months ago in June of this year, is because the damn township that screwed him is saying that they can't afford to pay him the $45 million. Well, tough shit, man. He's 60 years old. Give me a break. Like, he can never get that time back. The township says they'll be forced into bankruptcy. Oh, they're so crooked. They're so crooked. So he won the judgment in 2022 in a federal lawsuit. It was a jury decision in 2022, and they've been accruing interest of the unpaid settlement. The township appealed in May of 2025, and a 3-judge panel of the 6th Circuit Court of Appeals sided with Gillespie and declined to lower the amount. The township is asking the full 6th Circuit Court to weigh in on the case. That's so sad. So, yeah, I wanted to see this man speak. I know somebody who knows him personally. And I was going to go and watch the presentation, But Amanda Knox was there too, and I couldn't pay money for a ticket because tickets were like, I think between $50 and $100, and some of that money would have went to Amanda Knox, and I was like, screw that, man, I'm not giving that bitch a dime. So I haven't gotten to see Dean Gillespie speak, but how sad that he was awarded that money 3 years ago and he hasn't been paid any of it yet. But thank goodness that the court upheld the judgment. And yeah, let the damn township go bankrupt. They need to pay up, man. They not only wrongfully convicted him, they knew they were wrongfully convicted him. They were pinning it on him on purpose for reasons that I won't get into right now because I'm going on 2 hours and I should wrap up. Yeah. I wonder if the eyes dilate with pleasure and the killer's eyes do that. That is a wild thought, Billy, darling. Sorry, I keep calling you that. Billied. Was thinking, I like that theory. Was thinking that the eyes dilate like that because the soul just washes out like from the bottom of a drain, basically. That the soul is washed out of the eyes, washed out of the body. Okay, he owns the town then, LOL. And it's a nice town. It's Miami Township is the town. They can't get away with that. He now owns that town. And it's a really wealthy town, so I don't want to freaking hear about it. Miami Township is like one of the nicest areas of the Dayton area. They got money. That's bull crap. They just can't succumb to the fact that, you know, he was like 18 years old, I think, when they pinned this on him too. I think he was 18 when the crime happened, and like maybe he was like 21 by the time they pinned it on him. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up. You're the best. Thank you so much for being here, sweetie. And it's so nice to visit with you. Oh, Donnie and his freaking coronavirus. See, I figured he was going to eat a cyanide pill at this point, especially because it seems like it's kind of almost common from what I've seen online today that everybody's thinking that this assassination of Charlie Kirk is sus AF. It seems like there's so many. I mean, just that whole thing with the baseball cap and the what is it? They kind of does this the millisecond before he's shot. I mean, you can't deny that. I'll put a link to that in the description because I found a clip of it that's just like 30 seconds long. He definitely stroked out on that face. Thanks for hanging, girl. Thank you. Totally sus AF. Yeah, he's just freaking out, man, and he cannot deal with suffering the consequences of his actions. So he's probably going to fake his own death now. Like by the morning, he'll be like, oh, he died of COVID overnight, right? But really, he'll be like off to Epstein Island or something. And then we'll have Vance be our next nightmare. OMG. So what happens if he gets snafu'd? It would be Mike Johnson, wouldn't it? Like, that is insane. Like, that guy is as spineless as freaking Vance. I just had a thought. What if Chuck was supposed to duck and it went wrong? But likely a hit. Yeah, I don't think he had any idea it was coming. But, you know, it also could have been that it didn't work. Like, people can survive attempts like that. I mean, like Donnie did, right? So, yeah. I don't think he was aware. Like, I mean, I'm sure you've seen the video too, and he looks like he's completely in a different world in those milliseconds right before it happens. The base would not accept anyone but him, not even the Sons, in my opinion. Oh, I think they'd accept the Sons, but man, that would be insane. I think that they'd probably try to replace him with Vladdy. The base would probably try to replace him with Vladdy, or maybe Christy Nome, or what's the cult lady from Hawaii? Tulsi Gabbard. You know, Tulsi Gabbard grew up in a cult. You knew that, right, Billy? She's a total cult lady. Nah, no girls allowed. Right, but they're pretty. Come on. Pamela Bondi. Oh, dang it. If only Carolyn Levitt was old enough to be president. She's only 27. She might have turned 28 at the end of August. But yeah, you got to be 35. Sorry, Caroline. They won't allow any woman in charge. It's true. It's absolutely true. Yeah. No one likes the Sons, not even the daddy. Yeah, they're pretty disgusting. Pretty despicable. I have to agree with that consensus. Not even MAGA women. Yeah. Well, it's been really nice chilling with you, and we should do it again soon sometime. Love and light. I hope you have a really good day tomorrow. I hope that there's not a civil war or a insurrection or anything like that. I hope that Donnie can just effing go to jail, confess to his crimes, like that'll ever happen. Because Daddy turned on almost everyone. No one will take his place easily. Thus, more AI to come. I know, right? Holy smokes. Yeah, we'll probably have an AI president, right? Is that what you're saying, Billy? Because it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh my goodness, it's 10 o'clock. I'm turning into a pumpkin. All right, so love and light. Have a really good night, and see you soon, hopefully. Make sure that we drink our water, eat our veggies and our protein. Yes, that's what I'm saying until the cult picks new leader. No more cult leaders, please. Can we just go back to normal? I think that's probably not really an option at this point, huh? So they will fight it out to be new leader. Well, probably Elon thinks it's going to be him. But did you hear the Ellison guy from Oracle? He's now the richest man in the world, right? It switched yesterday, I think. And I'm here for it. All right, girl. Love you lots. Have a good night. OMG, he is such a tool. Yeah, he is. These people are all freaking tools. But my favorite, this is a good thing to end on, was it a couple of months ago when Donnie said, not the sharpest light bulb in the drawer? That was a good one. He does that kind of thing a lot. Lord help us. All right. Love you, girl. Talk to you later.